What's going on, guys? Welcome to a breakdown tutorial of my after hours edit. I got a lot of you guys requesting me to break it down, basically showing how I did everything, and I have all these scenes lined up that are my favorite scenes from the edit. I mean, every scene from this edit was pretty good. I really loved them all, but I'm gonna just show you the most that I was getting asked for, especially this Gojo one in the sky. First, before we start, I want to say shout out to Kirosuro and I think Mech RYT is how you say it. I got this edit idea inspired from them. Their edit was amazing. Please go check it out. I will link it in this video in the description. Their edit was phenomenal. And when I saw it on TikTok, I just thought, maybe I'd put my skills to the test because I recently just started to learn how to composite and everything and do manga animations. But yeah, just go check them out, guys. They did amazing on the edit. Like I said, I'll link it in the description. But yeah, today I'm just gonna show you guys how I turned something like this into the final product at the end, where I turned it into this, which obviously includes the animation. I'll show you guys specifically what I did, all the effects and everything. I did render the background and stuff in Blender, which I mean, I rendered the whole thing in Blender. I used the mist pass and everything. So, I mean, I won't show you the Blender portion because that's a whole different software. If you guys want a tutorial for that, there are a lot on YouTube that I did use, and if I can find them, I'll link those too. But basically, it's just a bunch of stuff that I've learned over the years, and especially recently with compositing, that I just combined it together to create, this edit. So, basically, I'll start off with this Toji scene right here where he's walking and looking up, before he sees Gojo and everything. It first starts off with just this right here. I rendered this in Blender. The background is Blender as well, everything, and then I just imported a animation PNG into Blender of Toji walking. And obviously, when I rendered it out, it looks bland, which, as all things will look bland when you start off, and sometimes it discourages me, but once you get everything layered and everything, it'll look a lot better. If you're wondering why it's all split up right here, my render messed up midway through, so I had to kind of splice everything because for some reason Blender just doesn't like me sometimes, so I had to render this whole in animation twice so I can splice it up and everything. So, I mean, it's unfortunate, but sometimes you run into stuff like that, but you just gotta find solutions around it. But yeah, so like I said, I'll go layer by layer. So I have this right here, which is the clean plate, the color base, and then I have the mist pass, which the mist pass just looks like this. And this will add the kind of distant fog in the back. If I get rid of it, it just kind of looks like bland. It doesn't really have any atmosphere to it. But then if I add on the mist, it kind of looks it looks like the building's a little further away than it should be. It looks better when all the coloring is on here, but we'll see that when it gets to there. And same thing just everywhere here that I spliced. It's just the same thing. It's just all the mist passes added together with the clean plate, and you can do a lot more. Like, you can do all the other types of passes if you know Blender and the passes and everything, which I just did the mist pass because that's all I really cared about. You could take it pretty far if you are really good at the passes, which I'm still learning those too. But that's just the clean plate. So then, to add more atmosphere, I basically added these kind of I guess you could say these overlays. So I added this smoke overlay. It's just simple. It's just, it doesn't move or anything. Like, does it move? It just sits there as the smoke moves, and it's just throughout the whole edit. It's not really noticeable unless you really look, but it adds a lot of atmosphere. It just looks like he's walking through a windy day, or there's a lot of dust build up or whatever. The next, I added these falling leaves. So it looks like these leaves are kind of falling down from the surrounding trees that are around that you'll see in the rest of the edit. Pretty good way to add more atmosphere. Oh, and by the way, let me show you guys how I did the mist pass and everything. So for the mist pass, I did extract, because what that does, if I activate this, extract, I got rid of all the black colors. Anything that's black, I got rid of it, just crunched all the black, so then it only shows the whites. So then I tinted it too, but I was going to change it a certain color, but I just thought the white looked nice. And then I changed it to overlay, which then added it on top. And that's pretty simple. I mean, I'm sure there's other cooler ways you can add a lot more to it, but that's just how I did it. Anyways, let's get back to the overlays added. The last overlay I added was just kind of this dust Added some camera lens blur. I added camera lens blur to most of the stuff in here. Some of it I didn't, because if it's kind of close to the camera, it kind of makes sense. Just, it's whatever you feel, but I only added blur to the dust because it was kind of really noticeable. If I got rid of it, it's just kind of in your face. But you just add blur, just a tiny bit. It looks really good. So yeah, so then if we add everything so far, it's what we have. It's kind of just a simple, just a little scene with some atmospheric, you know, things like fog, leaves, and dust, which it makes it look a little better, but obviously no coloring yet, so it looks kind of dull, but it still adds a lot to it. Next thing I added was this lens, kind of lens dirt. I got this from Texture Labs, which if you go on Texture Labs, it's free. I got this for free, and you can download it in 4K for free too. It's not like you have to pay extra for the 4K and then download the pretty bad version. I added this, added some fast box blur. I tinted it white too because the original color is just blue and it didn't really fit the scene. But I added that on top and put it to screen, so then I add everything together. You can kind of see it. Looks a lot better. It kind of looks like the camera actually has some lens dirt on it. It's not perfect because, you know, not everything's perfect sometimes, so it just adds that extra realism to it. So yeah, that looks a lot better. And like I said, if you add tint, get rid of the tint, kind of looks bluish, and obviously the edit's kind of a greenish tint when I finish the edit, so if I add it now, it kind of, it's not, you can't really tell the difference, but it does make it brighter without the tint on the top. I don't really like that. So I mean, it's little things like that, if you're really noticeable on that, it really helps. But like I said, looks better either way, but I liked it without, or with the tint on it. So the next, this is where we get into almost kind of the coloring. I made everything black and white, and you're probably wondering why I would do that, but it makes sense in a minute once I show you. But I just added a adjustment layer with a color balance set to -100 contrast, or -100 saturation. And like I said, we'll see what it does. I'll show you why and everything, and I'll show you the difference between if you did add it and if you didn't. It really changes a lot to it. So then right here, this is the colorings right here. It's a lot, but it's not as bad as you think. So then if we add the coloring onto it, looks really good, but not what I wanted at first when I was first making this. I thought this looked really good, and this was originally what I was going to keep, but then I was like, no, I want a little more color to it. So obviously you're probably wondering why I added this in, because I mean, if I just get rid of it, oh, it just looks kind of really oversaturated, really kind of gross, you know. It just looks like dog food. If I add that, it's black and white, but I don't want it completely black and white. But if I get rid of the saturation, it still looks a little bad, you know. I don't really like it, so I kept it at -100, and then I'll show you what I did next. I then took everything right here, all this, the clean plate, duplicated it, added it to a new composition just to make its own little thing right here. Kept the color and everything, so I kept this color. And then I basically did this right here. It's just basically a little bit of extract. I got rid of some of the blacks in here, just a tiny bit. Color balance, so a little bit more negative on the saturation, so it's not as bright. It's hard to notice, but. And then curves, I kind of brightened the highlights and everything, make them a little brighter. But also right here, I thought it looked a little kind of too dull, so I kind of brightened them a little bit. So then we add everything so far, plus what I just showed you. It adds color, but it looks really good compared to if we had just taken the color off of this. It's a lot better, I think, in my opinion, because like I said, we're extracting the blacks and we're keeping the highlights of him. So if you notice, the dark parts of him don't get any darker, or any part of the image doesn't get darker. It's just the highlights that kind of change, which is what I wanted. Because, I mean, I just thought of it as like, you always want something for people to look at to be kind of intrigued into the edit, and I thought, you know, if it's just black and white, there's not really much to look at because everything looks the same, you know? Same color, same tint, same saturation almost. But if you add some color to it, it's like you can kind of look around more, and it gets them to look at everything that you've put time into. And if you put little details in the back, if I had added something in the back, it's just composition. That's one thing of composition, is just, you know, making sure you have a point of interest. You want them to look at a certain thing. So I wanted them to look at Toji, so that's why I added some color to Toji and then kept some color in the back, because then you can see him, and then you can see in the building background, you're like, okay, he's walking away, he's doing something, you know. It's hard to explain. I'm really bad at explaining stuff, but it's one of the things that really helped this edit pop, was just adding some color to it rather than just keeping it just straight black and white. So then that's that right here. I added some more overlays, which it is just these just fog overlays. Added some more fog, added it, made it lighten, yeah, the blend mode to lighten on both, but I put down the opacity because they are really bright just by themselves. So then if we add those on top too, kind of looks like, you know, he's walking through fog again. You know, you can always change it to, like, if I hadn't added this to 40% and I added it completely, like, it looks really bad. Like, obviously he's covered and it's just kind of blinding. It doesn't really look good. You change that opacity, it looks a lot better. And tinted as well, because like I said, if you don't tint it, it has a certain color to it. It's hard to see, but if I get rid of the tint, yeah, it's just straight white. But if you add tint to it, just for some reason makes it green, even though, oh wait, no, I made one of them green, actually. I lied. So I added two on top, one just white and one just green, because if I just added the green one, it's just, I don't know, it doesn't look good. You can kind of see it right here too. But if I add a white on top of it, it kind of mitigates it a little bit, but still has that green look to it. You could probably get away with just doing the green one and then changing the tint amount, and you can get the same effect. But I mean, it's whatever you do. Everyone edits differently, but that's just how I do it. So then the final piece to this puzzle was the coloring again. So I added some more coloring, and I added some grain, noise, and flicker. So if we add this film effect, which this effect's really good, it makes things look really vintage, but also have like a really cinematic look to it. So if I add this on top, if I add it on, you could tell the difference. It really crushes the colors and makes them pop out more. So like, it makes everything look a little more cinematic, because this looks kind of a little desaturated. This adds a little more saturation plus some more colors to it. It's hard to explain, but this effect's really nice. You can always change everything too. So I change it to here, makes it look a little more brighter, a little more kind of night, good daytime, I guess. Add this, same thing. It just depends what you do. I don't really understand much of this stuff yet, so it's just you mix them together. I usually just keep, if it's Fujifilm, I'll keep Fujifilm on this one, Fujifilm on this one, Kodak on this one, Kodak on that one. Just kind of keep them the same. Don't have like Kodak on this one and the Fujifilm on this one, but this one kind of looks good. You could mix them together, but sometimes they don't really add together if they're two different things. But like I said, I'm not really a big stock guy, so I don't know much about film stocks and everything. So if you're pro in that, then you got that, you know. So that's that. Like I said, changes a lot to it. Kind of makes it a little more cinematic. So then the final thing, like I said, was just adding some grain, some noise, and some flicker. And not noticeable, but you know, the image flickers obviously. So if we play it, let it load or whatever, if you can see, it kind of just flickers, which, like I said, adds a little more realism to it. But yeah, so that's basically that scene right here. That's how I did everything for this Toji scene. So that's the first one, basically. You guys, before we move on to the Gojo scene, I wanted to tell you guys another thing I do. This isn't really, it doesn't really add to this. It's just more of like my transitions I do, kind of what I do between transitions. It just depends on the edit too, but for this edit, what I did was, once I was done with everything, I layered everything, it looked good, looked perfect to me. I pre-composed everything, so I'll Control A, right click, pre-compose, name it, just whatever, blah blah blah. I moved it all, clicked OK, and then it created this, which once it creates it, it'll be something like this. It should just have this right here. It'll turn into this tan looking thing or whatever color you have it set to. What I did basically, I zoomed it in, so I basically made it zoom out, if it loads, but it just zooms out. And then I added this plugin, which makes a camera lens blur, which if we get rid of it, looks really cool. Looks awesome, actually. I love this plugin. Kind of has like a camera lens blur, but not just any normal blur. It has bokeh, which makes the camera look like basically a hexagon, if that makes sense. It's hard to explain, but it blurs it into hexagons, which makes it a lot more beautiful, a lot more cinematic. Rather, if we just added like a, I don't know, Gaussian blur and cranked it up, doesn't really look good, you know. Even if I toned it down a bit, it doesn't really look that good. Compared to if I just added this, it looks a lot better. It's hard to tell the difference if you're just someone who just doesn't really use much blur or know different types of blur, but this plugin's amazing. If you want this plugin, I think you have to pay for it, and if you don't have to pay for it, then it's free. But if it's something you pay for, just pay for it. I mean, just support creators and stuff. But if you want the plugin, I'll put a link to it in the description, a place you can get all these plugins and everything, which obviously are in legal ways, obviously. But yeah. And then at the end, I just added these effects, so like Twitch, Pixel Sorter, Minimax, Twitch. Just kind of like transition effects, so it transitions into the next clip, basically. So it does that. That's pretty much it for that. But yeah, let's move on to this Gojo scene right here. Okay guys, now we're on to the Gojo scene. This scene was probably one of my favorites also. Like I said, everything was my favorite, but this was also one of the most time consuming because this one was in Blender again, but this tree in the background took forever to render. But basically, it's when Gojo, it's when Toji kind of looks up and then he is looking up and then he looks down and he sees Gojo in the distance. This was, like I said, one of my favorite scenes. So I'll show you guys how I did this too. So same thing as the Toji one, I rendered out a clean plate on Blender. So this is what the clean plate looks like on Blender, which I'll play it in third. Yeah, it's Toji looking up. As he looks down, he sees Gojo in the distance. And for this composition, I added Gojo, and in the background was these trees I animated in Blender, along with the pillars from the scene from season 2 that I made in Blender. So like I said, it looks bland, looks really cheesy, bland, and kind of just not good, right? We can all admit this does not look good. So once I rendered out this clean plate, I rendered out the mist again with the same things. Extract, I got rid of all the black colors. Anything that was dark, anything dark colors I got rid of. And then I tinted it. This time I actually tinted it green instead of just tinting it just white. I tinted it green. Kind of a, yeah, kind of almost like a, I don't know what color you would call this, but between light green and light blue, just a little bit in between. Add that on top and added this. So like I said, still looks really bad, kind of terrible. I mean, looks a little better if it was white, but I wanted to keep it green for a reason. So then, same thing as the Toji one, I added the same assets, which was the ground fog. So right here, I added these leaves, and I added the little dust particles. Same effects, everything, the blur. I keyed out the falling leaves I got from YouTube, and then nothing on this one. Screen, normal, and then lighten makes this. So like I said, looks really bad still, but we will get there. So then this time I added another lens thing on top, and I added a second one on top, but this time the opacity was half on the second one I added. Just because mainly I think when I added the lens blur, it wasn't really noticeable if I just added the one, and I really wanted it to be noticeable in this scene because obviously Toji's looking in the distance and it's kind of windy if you would think about it, so it's hard to see in the distance when it's windy, when there's stuff flying everywhere. Obviously stuff's flying everywhere, the camera's getting dirty, so I just wanted to add that extra realism. So then I added the black and white again, and then the same looks again. And if you guys wanted to know the looks on it, I'll show you guys right now. Okay, so it won't let me view the inside of the looks plugin for some reason. It keeps crashing, but from here you can kind of see, if I just open up this window, I don't think it'll let me zoom in, but I have a diffusion on there, I have an optical diffusion, I have a hue saturation, colorista, of curves, grad exposure, clarity, halation, and duotone. I will link the coloring in the description just so you can take a look further into it before you do all this, and it's free. Obviously, I won't charge you guys or anything. It's because I just can't, for some reason, it won't let me load it. I had to just restart like 3 times, and it still will not let me open if I click edit. But yeah, I mean, that's just the basics I have in there. Like I said, I will give you guys the effect, and you guys can look into it and see how I did it. But I added this looks. I then added this plugin called Crate's God Rays, which it's from Production Crate. It is a free plugin. You don't have to pay anything for it. I think you just have to make an account for Production Crate. I think there's YouTube videos on it how to add this plugin for free. But it's one of their really good plugins. It kind of creates these God Rays, if that makes sense. Kind of creates these lights that look like something's like the sun's pointing into this scene right here. It's really bright right now, and it looks kind of stupid, but you'll see I kind of found a way to dumb it down without actually ruining this right here, because this really looks good, but we will make it look a lot better. I then added a curves, which the curves really dyed it down, makes it look a lot better. So that was the looks adjustment layer. You can tell the difference a lot more atmosphere to it and everything. It's a lot, Crate's God Rays is a lot better than just adding like a sun in Blender and adding volumetrics, which adds a lot more render time. This plugin just makes that basically instant. You can control a lot with it, like the quality, kind of blend modes and stuff, style, and then just some of the input. You can change how bright it is and everything, and how smooth it is, how smooth the lines are and everything. Really great plugin. I'll link that too. So then next layer, I did the same thing as the Toji scene. If you wouldn't notice already, all these scenes are basically a pattern. I just do the same thing, I just tweak it to the scene. That's basically how I do all my edits. If I find a certain look and I really like it, I usually just copy and paste it to each different scene I do, but just tweak it to whatever looks good, because sometimes you can add all your stuff to it, but it won't look the same because, you know, different colors and everything, so you just have to adjust everything to what it looks like on the other scene you want to look like before. So I duplicated the color plates right here, the mist and just the color, pre-composed it. So I put it into here, so it's just the same thing, animation, just with the mist and the color. Added the effects from the last time on the Toji one, which was the extract. Got rid of some of the blacks on there, the dark colors. Color balance at -54, and then make it a little bit darker. And then created this, so you can see there's a little more color now, opposed to just no color. See more of the green on the tree, which is what I wanted, because obviously if I just get rid of it, you can't really tell what's behind him. It just kind of looks just something's behind him that isn't a tree, unless obviously you saw the animation, you can see that it's a waving tree. But I wanted to add some color and also kind of show the background more, because like I said, if I just get rid of it, you can't really see the stem of the tree. It just kind of looks like some big blob things in the back, and then you can't see past the tree either. It's just darkness. But if you did what I did, basically keep some of the colors but still keep some stuff black and white, you can see past the tree now. I can actually see what's behind here. I can see the pathway. I can actually see that's a tree stump that's leading up to the leaves and everything. Just makes a big difference in your comp. Really helps people understand what's going on, what's actually in the scene, rather they're just kind of guessing like, oh, that might be a tree in the back, that might not, just look like pitch black. And then yeah, see right here, this is just big black, just space of nothing, versus if I add everything, you can actually see the leaves again. So like I said, it's a little, just 3 effects, but 3 effects make a big difference, especially with the coloring and everything. So then same thing as last time, I added these ground fog, just this atmospheric fog. Tinted the first layer green, lighten on a 100%, or no, 40% opacity. Oh, and by the way, this layer right here for the color, that we just went over before, it's at 40, so if it's not at full, it's at 40. If you want to make that clear, because you probably are doing this like that, and they're probably like, why is it not looking like what his looks like? Well, I just turned it down to 40. And then there you go. Forgot to mention that. My apologies. But yeah, just added the ground fog, atmospheric fog. And then I added the same thing, the film looks a lot better, adds a lot more color to it, but also some of that cinematic feel. And then the same thing, post effects, the grain, noise, and the flicker. And then there we go, that comes to basically the scene I just showed you in this right here. That's what it comes to right here. It looks amazing, honestly. So yeah, but yeah, it adds a lot to the scene once you realize, when you layer everything, you tweak just tiny stuff, it creates a really good image in the end. Makes it a lot better. So that's for the Gojo scene. And then, like I said, I pre-compose everything when I'm done. I add added lens blur for this, just BCC lens blur. I didn't add better bokeh because sometimes better bokeh kind of has this thing where it kind of crushes the color too much when it blurs everything, and sometimes the blacks start to spread out and it creates like a little black hole. It's hard to explain, but and then I just added an effect right here where it's like a one framer, which just for one frame, kind of like an impact frame in an anime, I just added this invert directional blur and then a deep glow. So then it just kind of does its thing at the end. But yeah, that's it for the Gojo scene. We'll move on to this next scene where Gojo's talking after this scene. It is this one right here. Yeah, with the birds flying and everything, and then the tree in front of him. Looks really good. I love the scene too, so we'll move on to that one. Alright guys, so now this next scene, which is, like I said, the Gojo scene where he's talking to Toji, basically saying like, oh, like, I'm back, you know, you've seen that, everyone has seen that scene. But yeah, this scene's really good too. I love everything I added here. Like I said, inspired by the creators I mentioned in the beginning, Kyosuro and Mech RYT. Kind of copied them from this scene. They added, I think it was Kyosuro who had the first part of half of the edit, and then the second half was Mech RYT. So Kyosuro, I think, did this thing where he had birds flying in the distance, or not in the distance, just in front of the camera, and I kind of copied that, and it looks really good. I'll show you guys how I did that and everything. So same thing as before, I just kind of, this time I rendered this out just without Gojo in it, so I just added the trees in the back. The trees aren't animated, but it's fine because I added my own trees on top. Some videos I found off YouTube, I just added on top just to make it look like, you know, there's some sort of animation. So, like I said, clean plate, just the color, and then the mist, same effects as last time per usual. As we go through these scenes, it's going to be fast paced because I've already explained the first two scenes in depth, so it's basically, like I said, the same thing. I just copy everything over to the next scene and tweak everything that I need to tweak. So they added this on top, and then I added these trees, which it looks stupid right now because it's like, well, you can clearly see the border of the video, but you won't notice it in the video, which you will see in a minute. Gojo yapping, so just him talking. I basically just rotoscoped him out, him talking and everything. So just rotoscoped him out, and I then did this thing where I combined the Gojo layer and then the two backgrounds, pre-composed them, did the same thing, created a comp, and then did the extract, color balance, and the curves. Same thing as the last edit, so it gets rid of all the blacks in the edit, or in the clip, crushes all the blacks and only keeps like the highlights of it. Because like I said, I still want that color. I want to have it to where you could still see some color in the edit once we turn everything black and white. So then I added some more trees on top, which will cover the borders that you would normally see in the video. So like the border kind of covers it right here. I added it on top of him to make it look like he's behind the tree, kind of add some layers to it, some depth. The tree layer is just some YouTube video I found online. I layered a lot on top because for some reason when I added everything, or when I added the video in, it just was dark for some reason. I didn't really like how dark it was and everything. So I just kind of added everything on top, added some more color to it. Rather, if I just added it, it was really dark for some reason. But yeah, I made it a little more brighter than it was, so then it looks a lot better when I add everything on top. So yeah, then we have this. Like I said, still a little bland, but we will add to it right now. So then I added some more leaves, some ground fog, some thick ground fog, and then some dust. So again, you see the pattern here. I'm just adding a lot of layers from the previous comps into just this comp, because I mean, they're basically in the same area. If you really think about it, if this was a real scene in real life, they're in the same kind of area. So like right in front of Gojo, on the other side of this camera would be Toji, and then Toji, this is kind of what Toji is seeing. So they're in the same area. You just got to think of environment sometimes when you make stuff like this. You got to think about, like, if they're in the same area, am I adding the same stuff? Am I adding different stuff if they're in different areas? It's kind of common sense and just self-explanatory. But yeah, so I added all that on top. And then I think, yeah, these are the doves, the birds flying in front that I added from YouTube, that I got from YouTube. And I just green screened them out. Originally, there's not much birds that fly on screen all at once, so I duplicated the layers to make it look like there was a ton of birds flying. So if I were to just get rid of one of them, you can tell there's a big difference between how many birds there are versus just one, versus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 birds. Really adds a lot to the scene. Like I said, adds more realism, as if like birds were flying, you know, just doing their thing while all this is going down. Next was the texture lens, again, the lens texture, self-explanatory, tint, fastbox blur. I then added the adjustment layer for the black and white, self-explanatory again, the same looks from the last one, same God rays. I just changed the position to the side right here, just to make it look like there's some actually there. Curves again, because like I said, without the curves, it's a little too bright for my liking. Curves will crush those highlights just a tiny bit to make it just look perfect for me. And then, like I said, the looks, I can't open it, but it's usually the same. I don't really tweak too much, but if I do, I just tweak it to whatever looks good for me, and you tweak it to whatever looks good for you. Same thing, ground fog, atmospheric fog, more atmosphere for the scene. And then this time, a little bit different for this scene, I traced out, or I rotoscoped Gojo's eyeball to create his eye to have the only, basically, I want his eye to be the only thing that's really colorful in the scene, because, you know, his eyes are the most biggest part of him, you know, his 6 eyes and everything, so it would make sense to make his eye stick out, because that's one of the things about him that sticks out, is his eyes. So I basically traced it out. I traced it out right here. Turn this off. It's a little too bright. I added on top just everything that I added here, just with a little more glow, but not as big of a glow, because Deep Glow is another plugin. You can purchase it or find it online in legal ways. It makes it really bright, which I don't want it too bright, so I duplicated again, got rid of the Deep Glow, but added just regular After Effects built-in glow, because it doesn't make it too bright, but you can still kind of see the eye, if that makes sense, opposed to just, it's just a big ball of light. And then when I add his eye on top, which is a tiny bit of glow, you can still see his eye. So that's what did that right there. So if I add everything again, his eye sticks out, because obviously I want people to look at Gojo, so I want something to stick out on him, which would be his eye right here. So then I added this optical flare, which is another plugin. It basically makes a flare, which this is one of my favorite plugins, because it's good for cinematic scenes like this. So I added it on his eye, and then I traced it. Well, I didn't trace it because it's a still frame. He doesn't move his head too much, so I just kept the optical flare there. I didn't have to position keyframe it or keyframe the position or anything. I just kept it there. Added some deep glow to it to make it really bright, and it just makes it look like his eyes really, like he has some. It looks like he's angry, if that makes sense. it really adds a lot of emotion to it, even though it's just, you would just think it's just a normal light, like, oh, light's coming off his eye. But if I just kind of get rid of it, it looks good, but I wanted it to really stick out. I wanted to really look like he had some emotion to it. And if you've watched a lot of anime, usually when characters are really, 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 really pissed, their eyes usually glow and have like a flare following them. It's really cool. I like when animes do that, so I was like, might as well do the same thing, because it really adds a lot of emotion to them. So it looks like Gojo's really pissed. So optical flare, deep glow, creates that. Keyframe it if you need to, if your scene's moving, but like I said, for this scene, Gojo's just sitting here just talking, so I didn't have to keyframe the position or anything. Then self-explanatory again for this, just the film effect, and then the post effects, so grain, noise, flicker, and that creates that scene right here basically. So if we go back into my video, creates that. Looks really good. And trees animate too, like I said, because I got them from YouTube, so it looks like, there's actual wind going on in the background. So that's that for that scene. And then, like I said, I pre-composed everything, put a new comp, and for this comp I did a little different. I added a twitch effect, which is also another plugin. I made the amount 50 and the speed 5 and did blur, so there's kind of like a flicker, a blur, so it's like the camera's like focusing and unfocusing, because I was thinking of, if there's a lot of stuff flying in front of the screen, the camera's gonna like, freak out because it's trying to focus on one thing, and when stuff flies in front of the camera, obviously it defocuses because it focuses on whatever's closest to the camera, and then when everything's out of the way, it focuses back to what it was originally or whatever was closest in front of it. So I don't know if you can see, but sometimes it blurs. Kind of hard to see, but yeah, it kind of blurs. But yeah, so I thought I'd add that extra detail. But other than that, that's it. I didn't add any like transition effects. It just in the edit, it pops right in right here, and then flickers with the blur and everything. But yeah, that's for that scene. Like I said, self-explanatory. It's the same thing. I just copy and paste the effects from previous compositions and just tweak it to what my liking. And then if I need to add anything extra, like for this scene, which was the flare and the trees and the birds, and yeah, it's pretty easy. It's once you get the hang of it, you'll be able to create stuff like this in literal minutes. This thing took me like not too long. I would say the longest thing that took was the cutout of Gojo, because I had to rotoscope him and everything. But yeah, once you get the hang of it, it's a lot easy. So let's move on to this scene right here where Gojo's floating, which unfortunately is in Blender, so I won't have to show much, but we will get to that now. Alright guys, so this next scene, like I said, is the scene I made in Blender. Everything was animated in Blender, so unfortunately there's not much I can show, because like I said, Blender is a whole different software and a whole different ballpark I'd have to get into, and this video would be hours and hours long. But basically, if you've seen the edit, it's the scene basically I recreated from the edit that I was inspired by Kuroso and Meg RYT, and they recreated the scene where Gojo's floating in the air and Toji's like, is he high? Is he crazy? Basically, it's this right here, kind of comes in, and then it zooms into him and does the next transition. Go into here, it's just the render plate. This is what it originally looked like. Like I said, really flat, really bland, not much. I mean, there's a little bit of atmosphere, like you can kind of see the sun that I added, fog in the back. Like I said, not much, but it's a little bland. So then I duplicated it, or actually I rendered out a mispass, same thing as before, just rendered out a mispass and then did this, so it's a little more atmospheric. I kind of made it look like the sun's overpowering the background, but the front, it's hard to explain, but it looks a little better, but obviously not as good as the final product. So then I added the ground fog, the typical ground fog that I've been using. I've added the dust again, and then texture lens right here. This time it's a different texture lens. It's kind of like as if this, I don't know what this one would be called, but it was a cool one I found on Texture Labs. Not really noticeable as the previous one, but it looks really good to me. tint, fastbox blur, typical screen and everything. So then when I added this, I didn't really like it because, like I said, it's not noticeable. So then I was just like, you know, I'll just layer on the original one I've been using the whole time, which is the one you guys have been seeing. So, like I said, it's a lot now, which I like when you notice the imperfections of stuff. So now the camera really looks like it's imperfected. So same thing, tint, fastbox blur, screen. There we go. So then color balance for that gray, black and white. Looks, same thing, just tweak it to whatever you need. The God rays, which I keyframed the position because obviously the scene moves and the sun moves, so I want it to follow the sun. So then I just keyframed it, put it where the sun was, and now it has these kind of rays coming out. Looks a lot cleaner, looks a lot better, as if there was an actual sun and volumetrics in the Blender scene, which would have added to my render time, but like I said, Creates God Rays just does that instantly. Curves again, to really, I guess, I didn't really add anything to this curve at all. I think I did, but it didn't really look too good. Yeah, it was too dark on the edges right here. But you can do whatever you want if you add curves. So then that's what the looks does. Ground fog. I think I didn't add the ground fog in the edit because it was a lot. Yeah, it didn't look good at all. It just looked kind of terrible. So I just got rid of it. Didn't add any ground fog, just kept it there. And then the post and the film effects, same exact thing as the ones before. Just the film, green, noise, flicker. And there we go. Creates that scene. Self-explanatory, like I said. And this would be the final product. Looks really cool. It was one of my most proud scenes because I saw it in the original edit from the two creators, and I was like, you know, I think I can do that, and I did. The models I got from online, if I could find them, I'll put them in the description, but it was pretty hard to find. But yeah, so that's it for that scene. Pre-compose it if you want, add whatever you need. I just did the same thing as the Gojo scene where he's talking. I just added the blur, the blur flicker from Twitch plugin, and it just looks like I said, the camera's unfocusing and focusing. So that's it for that scene. It was pretty quick because, like I said, it's just the same stuff as everything before. You know, the same thing I said, pattern. I just do the same thing over and over, tweak it, and then I just have a complete product. So then next scene, we are doing everyone's favorite that I was getting questions on, which was this Earth scene where Gojo's in space, floating over the Earth and saying he's the honored one. So we'll get on to that one now. Alright guys, so now we are on to the fan favorite that you guys said you guys really liked. I saw most of the comments asking about this scene. I saw a couple of comments. This was also one of the scenes I was really proud of too, because again, was another part of the edit. I think this was a Mech RYT's part of the edit. I saw this and I thought it was really badass, so I decided to recreate it. Basically, this Earth, we'll start off with the Earth. Earth was made in Blender. I made the Earth from the tutorial by CG Geek, how to make an Earth in 1 minute. It still holds up to this day because, I mean, the Earth looked amazing just without the effects. It looked really real. So if you just follow that tutorial, I'll put that link in the description. I just followed that and created the Earth, and then I just basically rendered it, animated it to, if you notice, the Earth kind of moves. It kind of rotates, and then as it rotates, the light kind of moves with it, obviously as if it's rotating in real life, as it does. The background was just 2 black solids with the Night Sky plugin by Sapphire. Adds these stars and everything. You can tweak a lot, has a lot of options. You can change like the altitude, the azimuth, or however you say that, field of view, latitude, longitude. It's a lot of stuff. You can really change the little things. You can change like individual stars and everything. It's really good. So I added that in the background, so far it would look like this, as if it's in space, which obviously is the look we were going for in this scene. Then on top, I added a blur to make it look like it's blurred in the back, because obviously the main focus in this scene was Gojo, so obviously the camera's not going to focus on this. So I added just a BCC lens blur, which BCC is another plugin. Same thing as Sapphire, it's just a big library of effects. Yeah, so I just added 3 on that, not too much, not too little, just perfect amount. So then Gojo, I added the animation from season 2. I basically rotoscoped him out of him floating in the sky. of the scene when he was fighting Toji. But instead of rotoscoping him out like I originally did, I just made the job easier for me. And I just cut out a still frame of him, and then I used Puppet Tool to animate his arms swaying back and forth, and it looked really good, which I'll show you how I did that right now. So yeah, so I basically cut out the Gojo, I cut out the scene from Gojo. I cut him out, and then I cut it again, but I cut his arms off right here. So it looks like he's armless. But then I added his arms back, so then it just looks like nothing ever really happened. I then just kind of made a color balance. I added a color balance to this because I wanted it to match the scene of the earth, because if I just change it, he's really yellow, and that wouldn't fit this scene. So if I go back to the earth scene, yeah, he's like yellow, and obviously if we add everything together, I don't know, it makes everything look really green, not really too much blue. So like his arms are perfect, what I wanted when I changed it, versus if it was yellow. So we'll see the difference. So his torso's yellow, but his arms are not. So if we go here, you kind of see the difference. So everything's kind of greenish here, but everything's blue on his arm. So I just, like I said, added that color balance, which allows you to change the certain channels of the color. So you can change the red, the green, the blues, and it gives you three options each color. So you can really change a lot. And then I added bleach bypass to darken it a little bit because it was too bright. It's really bright, so I kind of darkened it with the bleach bypass by Sapphire. So then together, if we go into here, I was going to use Puppet Tool, but then I decided to use the hair script from online that I found from another tutorial, which I will also link that in the tutorial or in the description. It's just a script where you can make hair kind of animated, but you can kind of use it to your advantage and make things look like they're swaying. So I made it look like Gojo's hands just like kind of waving as if he's just floating in space. Obviously, it's not noticeable from far, but adds a little detail. So then once you add both of those, he kind of looks like he's just chilling, you know, just floating above the earth. So then that creates that right here. That basically does that. And you're probably wondering too how I did this light thing. I made it to where made it look like the sun's like shining onto this top part of him, but everything else is in shadows. So how I did that was I went into here, and this is kind of really complicated, but not too complicated if you kind of understand it a little bit. But first I added a drop shadow, and then I used shadow only. So if you do shadow only, it turns him into a shadow. Basically, it gets rid of, if you can see behind him, you can see the drop shadow in effect. But if you only want the shadow portion of him, you can literally just click shadow only, and it's only his shadow. So, and this is built in After Effects, just, you know, effect, just regular drop shadow, no crazy plugin or anything. I changed the direction as if where the sun's pointing, so the sun would be pointing kind of this way, kind of downward, like kind of down here. So I basically made the little turn wheel right here point downward, so 180. I changed the opacity to 85, like not too bright, not too dark, and you'll see why. The distance, softness, we'll get to that right now. Then I added a set matte. I did a set matte right here. Basically what that does is, it's kind of hard to see until we add the composite. So if you add the composite, it just kind of combines them together, I think. I'm not sure how this really works, but if you change everything, I think it changes a lot, yeah. So we'll change that back to multiply. If you add the composite, it'll kind of show everything we've been doing. Like I said, I'm really bad at explaining, but if we just kind of work backwards, so we get rid of the set matte and the drop shadow, we just do the composite, it kind of it lets us do a blend. It allows us to blend the image, because if we blend it here, it doesn't do anything because it has nothing else. There's nothing else in this layer to blend to, so it's just doing nothing. Opposed to if we add the composite, it lets us blend the image itself without anything combining with it. We can just blend the image on its own. So then we set the matte, which we'll set the matte to obviously what we're working on. So we're working on this right here. So this layer, so 1, change it to 1. You don't have to do much here. which is that, and then the drop shadow. This is how it works more. So if we change the opacity, we can control how dark the dark areas of him are. So I only did 85 because I still want you to see him, if that makes sense. And then the direction, obviously we can change the direction of the shadow. So if it makes sense, we made a shadow, then we kept the original image, so then you can kind of see that original image kind of peeping through as if it was light. If that kind of makes sense, if that really does make sense. But yeah, you can control the shadow, so then we can control basically where the light's coming from. And then the distance, we can kind of move how far the light's coming out, or basically how far the shadow is. So if you want to make it look like someone's above him, you can do that too. You can do a lot with this. And then the softness, self-explanatory. If you make it really soft, it just doesn't really look that good. Because he's in space, you know, the sun's right there. You're kind of like right in front of the sun, so there's not really much shadows, it'll call it. Not shadows, not much softness. It's really bright. It's just hitting you hard in space. So you would just normally just make the softness not too crazy, but not too soft, if that makes sense. Like not too sharp like that. That kind of looks kind of nasty. You can definitely see like the sharp edges. But if I just change that back to 26, it's perfect. So that's basically how I did that light effect, to make it look like, you know, the sun's hitting him as if he was actually in space, and that this was not actually made in a software. So like I said, we combine everything. Looks really good so far. So now we have the earth in the back, we have the sun as if it was back here pointing down on the Gojo, and the earth. We have the earth animating, we have Gojo animating, and it looks good so far. So then I was just gonna do that originally and just add everything else on top, and it looks good. But I obviously wanted some atmosphere, some sort of, I guess, you know, realism to it. So I added the ground fog again, added some fog right here. Obviously there's no fog in space, obviously, but it was just more of a, have more detail. I wanted more detail in the scene. So then I added that side. I think I added 2, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think I added 2, and then I added 2 more right here. So I kind of just this bottom right corner, I kind of made it more detailed. So because I still wanted people to see the stars, so I was like, I'll let them see the stars on this side, and then we'll add some more detail on this side. This time I added a color balance, but this time it was only at -50, and then I did another color balance. So the difference between is color balance is hue, lightness, and saturation. That's what HLS is: hue, lightness, saturation. So this one, you just control the hue, the lightness, and the saturation. And then color balance is just straight up, you can change the certain colors of each channel. So that's the difference between them. So I added that. But yeah, so for color balance, I basically just changed the blues a bit because I wanted the scene to be more bluish. Because I wanted Gojo's part to be really blue because, you know, that's kind of his color, it's blue. So I made everything blue here, and also when I think of the earth and everything, I think of blue. So I just kind of made everything really blue. So I added that, and then I added the color balance on top because I just wanted to add a little bit of desaturation to make it look a little more cinematic. So color balance, HLS, -50. So then same thing, looks, this one's a little less, it's a little less effects than if it was the one before. Yeah, so like for example, for this Gojo one, it's a lot right here. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Like 10 effects versus just this one where it's only 6. So like I said, sometimes you'll have to tweak it, sometimes you'll have to do your own thing. But once you get the hang of it, you'll learn what looks good, what doesn't. So yeah, looks right here, not much to it. Added the curves, but I didn't end up doing anything with the curves, so I just kept it there just in case if I did need to. And then creates God rays. Added the God rays again, but this time at the top, because obviously that's where the sun's coming from, so I made it look like there's the sun coming from the top to add more realism. Like I said, adds those lines right here to make it look like the sun's, you know, bouncing off and it's passing through his hands and everything. Makes it more, like I said, cinematic, more realistic, more atmospheric. And then same thing, film, same effects and everything, same settings, not much to change. And then the post effects, grain, noise, flicker. And then yeah, and then I basically animated it in here. So it goes from here, which I think in the edit, if you see, in the edit right here, it cuts to him close up, and then it transitions into out, so it kind of scales out, so you can kind of see more of the scene. So basically what I did, I took the earth, zoomed it in, and then when it cut to the next part, I just zoomed the earth out. So I had to re-render the same thing, but just I rendered out the earth to be more zoomed out in Blender, and just re-rendered it and just pasted it onto here. And then I zoomed everything else out, so like the whole scene looks zoomed out as if the camera zoomed out to show more of whatever was around Gojo. But yeah, that's it for that scene. Like I said, it was one of your guys' favorites, and I really liked it too. And yeah, that's basically how I did that. So then, like I said, I also pre-composed everything. It was a lot here, a lot that I probably won't go in depth on because it's just basic, you know, effects like shakes, some text, added some film burn, some amino diffusion. It's just a lot of stuff I added. So, but yeah, I mean, if you're an effects person, like with shakes and everything, you do your own thing here. So, but that's it for that. And then blur, flicker, blur, decal, sorter, text, everything. So that's it for that scene. And then the final scene I will go over in this video is this one I created, where it's a Gojo from the manga panel when kind of going crazy on Toji. Added a background, trees and everything. We'll go over that. So that'll be next. Alright guys, to the final scene. It's this scene right here I just explained. It's basically the same thing as before. I just layered everything, same effects, same looks, same everything. I just tweaked it to what I needed to for this scene, which everything looks a little more black and white rather than just a lot of color, but black and white. This one's just almost strictly black and white. So if we go into it, not this one layer. If we go into the actual comp, it's a lot. It's a lot of colors on this right here, but once I go over it, it's easy. It'll be really easy. So first right here, what I did was I added this building I found on Pinterest, kind of like a anime manga background of this building right here. And it kind of reminded me of the scene where, I'll put a picture up right now, where in the background when Toji's walking in the original anime, it's like a, I don't know what you would call that building. Like, to me it looks like a city hall building, kind of a courthouse building. So this kind of reminded me of it. I don't know if this is from it, but it's like, it looks almost identical. And then I also saw in this image there's like rubble everywhere, so it was perfect because I'm like, you know, it's the last scene of the edit. It will kind of look like, you know, Gojo just got done and, you know, it's all destroyed and everything, you know, hollow purple and stuff. It was a lot of in-depth thinking on this picture, which, I mean, it's just a picture, but, you know, adds some detail to it. So I added this. The original image, it was really bright, obviously, because it's just black and white. So I added some bleach bypass, so it kind of darkened those colors. So it darkened the image, kind of crushed those blacks a little bit, but also kept the highlights, because like I said, it's good to have the highlights. It looks a lot nicer, has more depth to it. And then I added blend, I added some BCC lens blur. Just any blur would be fine. Camera lens blur built in with After Effects would be perfect too. So yeah, it's obviously the building's not in focus, so in the background, it's in the background, so it's going to be blurred. It's going to be not be able to not really see much of it. So I just blurred it. So then what I did here was, if I click N, I masked out this area right here, because that's where the sky was originally. So if I get rid of it, that's what it would look like. I mean, there's not much difference, but I got rid of it because I wanted to add this right here, this lightning right here, to make it look like, you know, in the background there's lightning. In the final edit, you can't see much. You can't really see it much, but I just thought it was a nice detail to add. So that's what I did. It was just a clip off YouTube I found. Added unmult. Not really sure why I added unmult, because there's no reason to add it. Which unmult just gets, it's kind of like using screen or add or lighten, just kind of cuts all the black out of the image or video and just only keeps the lights. Fast blocks blur, and then curves, and then blur, and then bleach bypass. So blur to blur it in the background, curves to kind of darken it a little bit, because it was really bright. Lens blur to blur it again, because I just wanted to blur it a little more. and then bleach bypass to darken it once again. So like I said, it wasn't really noticeable in the final, but I mean, I just thought it would be a nice detail if someone did notice. So then I added some exposure to darken the background a little more, because I wanted the scene to be dark, because, you know, it's, if you really think about it, the scene's dark. Gojo's going crazy, he's going insane. So I wanted to add like a dark atmosphere to it, because, you know, he's laughing, he's going crazy. So I just thought it would add some more atmosphere in the background and really set the tone. Added some, I think it was just atmospheric fog, which it's not really noticeable if you kind of look. It's noticeable when I solo it, but if I add it on top, it doesn't really add much, but it does add some texture. Footage crate added this cool kind of plume of smoke, this plume accent. So then I added an adjustment layer with chromatic displacement, which chromatic displacement basically displaces the area of which the video is covering and kind of distorts it and adds like a little RGB effect. You can see like the red and green and the blue right here. It's not really noticeable in the edit, but it really does add if you add a lot. So if I up the displacement amount, you can kind of see what it's changing. See, it's distorting the surrounding area of whatever area the video is covering. Like I said, pretty cool effect. Not noticeable unless you really look, but like I said, adds more detail and stuff. So next thing, I added the trees from the Gojo scene when he was talking, because I really liked the trees. I liked how they looked, so I wanted to add them into this final scene, because like I said, they looked really cool, so I wanted to add them in. So same thing as before, I just layered them. I did use the same technique as the earth scene from Gojo to make it look like there's light coming from the sun adding onto him. I did the same thing here because I want the sun to kind of, or some sort of light coming from this little pocket right here, shining down and creating all this light right here. So same technique, the drop shadow, the set matte, the composite, and the bleach bypass just darkens it a little bit. Not noticeable, but I mean, it adds to it. So yeah, so that animates right there. I then added the scene of the manga panel of Gojo. Yeah, added the manga scene of Gojo, animated and everything. I'd go in depth on manga animation, but that's also a whole new ballpark because it's a lot of scripts and everything. So there's YouTube videos on that because I'm not even a master of it yet. I've just been doing whatever I have learned so far and just the small techniques I know. But if I someday just get really good at it, master it, or at least have some knowledge enough to give to you guys, I'll help you guys on that. But there are other videos out there that teach you hair animation, eye animation, just simple hand animations and everything. You just find them online and everything. But yeah, I just added that, so it's just him sitting there kind of maniacally laughing and smiling. Adds a lot of depth and stuff. And obviously he's the main part of the scene, so he has to be animated. I didn't want to just add just a still image. I'm a really detail-based guy, so I like having details, so I wanted him animated to make it look like he's alive, he's actually moving. So, but that was it for the Gojo animation. Same technique with the light and everything, because if I just get rid of it, everything, he's just bland. But if I add the animation with the light effects that we've done before, the drop shadow, set matte, composite, and everything, it really adds a lot of detail because it looks like whatever's coming from here is shining onto him. Like I said, self-explanatory. I've already explained this. Added some more smoke in the background. Added a lot more smoke actually because I want this to be detailed once again. So it's just the same smoke effect from here, and it's just pasted onto here. It's just different types of smokes that I've got from that editor's pack. So just added them across in the background and the foreground, just wherever something needs detail. Added some more tree overlays because, you know, if we just keep the regular tree, you can see the border. Like I said, you want to hide the imperfections, so I just did that again. You can still see it right here, but I mean, at the end, it's not really noticeable when you add everything together. Radial blur kind of adds a little blur to everything, kind of like, oh, it's hard to explain, but it's like a circular blur. It's like a radial blur. It's so hard to explain. I'm not really good at explaining, like I said, but adds some depth, some more blur, because he's moving, so he needs some sort of blur, as if like there's motion blur. So that's that. Same thing with the trees, adds more motion blur to the trees. So more detail upon detail and everything, etc., etc. I then added some rain because I wanted this scene to have some rain to look like he's just in the rain going crazy. Because, I mean, in the original anime, there's no rain in the scene, but I just wanted to add my own little rain to it. So it's just BCC rain, but you can also get away with just CC rainfall, After Effects. Obviously, it's built into After Effects, but this is just a separate plugin. But regular CC rainfall will work perfect for this. Added the texture lens, but this time I didn't just keep it throughout the whole thing. If I get rid of the mask, I didn't just keep it throughout the whole scene. I just masked out a circle on just wherever I wanted it to be more noticeable, so preferably on this part because I want people to look kind of right here at Gojo, and also kind of a little past him so you can see the building in the back. Masked it out to where I want people to stare at, kind of pay attention to. Next would be the film. This time I changed it. I changed it up. I changed Kodak 5222 XX push 3, and then the print stock would be Kodak 2383. And then these are the settings right here. You can copy them if you want, change them, tweak them to whatever you want. So, and then as you can see, the big difference of it just changes a lot. Because like I said, I wanted the scene to be black and white. I didn't really want too much color, so I was perfectly fine with it just being black and white. So adds a lot of atmosphere, adds a lot of grain, some texture, adds some good details that I really loved about it. So added that on top, and then just the final things I added. So these 3 or these 4 are just the chromatic displacement that we were talking about before, and I set them to each one to each smoke layer that I had for each smoke asset. And then I just changed the settings and the displacement and everything. Like I said, it's not really noticeable in the edit, but you can kind of see it right here. And I thought it was cool because it's warping around Gojo's hand and everything, and it just adds detail and looks really good to me. Alright, so next effect would be the YY ramp. This kind of just adds like a gradient ramp. So if I get rid of it, you can kind of notice. Full screen it. It kind of adds a gradient ramp, and it's darker down here and it's lighter up here. It's just a simple gradient ramp. If you don't have this plugin, you can just 100% get away with just like adding a solid. So if I do here, solid, add, and if I do gradient ramp, and then if I swap the colors and then do multiply, it's basically the same exact thing. There's no difference really. It's a plugin, so it's just might as well just have it. But I mean, like I said, you can get away with just having just the solid with the gradient ramp and adding multiply to it. No difference, just preference. So, but that's it for that. If you do have this plugin, it's pretty easy. Start a ramp, end of ramp. That's the only ones you're going to be touching, and then the only ones you'd also be messing with is the color and then color, and then blend mode. That's pretty much it. Next thing I added was the radial blur again. I added another radial blur because I wanted a little more blur to the scene. There's a lot going on, so I just thought I'd added some more blur. And then finally was the God rays. I wanted the God rays to come from right here. Like I said, this little pocket we were talking about. So then if we put everything together, it does that. And it looks freaking awesome. It looks amazing. I like this scene. So that's basically that scene right here. There's a lot, but it really comes together in the end. Like 27 layers sounds like a lot, but when you're in the flow of working on stuff like this and you get used to it, you won't even notice you're doing this many layers. So then I just pre-composed it, added motion towel, and then I had some wiggle position and some wiggle rotation, and it just kind of made the scene move as if the camera was kind of just moving around, because originally obviously it's just sitting here. If I like go from this frame to the end, once it loads, it doesn't move. Yeah, it's just still basically. But yeah, so like originally, like if we just go back and forth, camera's not really moving, it's just stuck in one little frame. But when you add this wiggle and wiggle rotation or wiggle position, it creates just expressions for you automatically built into After Effects, and it moves the camera around as if like something like the camera was actually moving. So if we like change it, or if not change it, if we go into the edit, you can see the camera's moving. It adds a lot of depth to it as if the camera was moving and stuff. So that's it for the tutorial. I mean, I basically showed you not all the scenes, but basically everything I did to create this edit, because like I said, this whole edit was just like mostly copy and paste. I just copied the same effects and everything, tweaked it to my liking, added a couple things to obviously change it up and kind of make the scene make more sense as if you were actually there, or if something was real, if that makes sense. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I know I repeated a lot of points, I repeated the same things, but like I said, this edit was mainly repetitive. It was a lot of copy and paste, like I said. So, and it was my first tutorial, me talking, and first really in-depth tutorial. As on my page right now, I just have like simple effects, just one-off effects. This was just like a whole breakdown of my compositing, what effects I use, how I did it, why I did it. So this video is gonna be on the longer side, but hope you guys watch it. Hope you guys learn something from this. And like I said, I'll link everything that I've used in the description. And if I forget something, just let me know and I'll reply to your comment with the link, or I'll just pin it top of the comment section. So if you guys would subscribe, I would really appreciate it. I have more edits on the way, and if you guys want more tutorials, let me know. And if you want specifically made tutorials, please let me know, and I will try to my best to do that, because I'm here to help everybody. I'm not here to gatekeep. I'm not here to act like I'm better than everybody. You know, I edit like you guys. I'm just a normal person. So I've had people gatekeep in front of me too. I've had people, you know, treat me as if like I'm kind of below them, but you know, we're all just here to edit and have fun. So, you know, why not help other people instead of just, you know, kind of leaving them in the dust? I think everyone deserves to do what they want to do and enjoy doing it rather than just kind of dreading it. So hope you guys enjoyed. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.